Hello, hello, hello. Just checking all the text working right. I'm just checking LinkedIn first. I can find my page. There we go. I think I'm live now. Just check the sound's coming through okay. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, we're good to go. So, welcome to From 3K to 3 million in 3 years, the right and the wrong way. My name's David Wood. If we've not met before, just to give you a summary of who I am and my background, I grew up in the West Midlands to a working class family. Um, Always wanted to be a golf professional. My aspiration was to turn pro and go and play on the tour. First real realization of real life that A, I wasn't good enough to play on the tour, and B, I had a knee injury when I was 25 and had stopped playing golf professionally. So, oh, I've just had a notification. Sorry. So I ended up looking for something to do other than golf, and I got introduced to someone at a party. They had a challenge with their business, or the business that they were running, which was VIP lounges at international airports. So we had a conversation, and 4 weeks later, I set up a business supplying VIP lounges with some soft drinks and snack food products. Fast forward a year, the business had grown and we were supplying 17 sites across the UK. Now, I hadn't got any business experience, so everything I did was from knee jerk reaction, winging it, saying yes, figuring it out later. And the nuts and the bolts of what today is about is, if I can just get rid of that other screen, just 1 second. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Let's go back. Sorry, one of my screens has been switched off, so for some reason everything's got in the way. There we go. Let me just go back. I'll run it without the presentation slides. So the the business took off. Everything was done from winging it position. I'd always been entrepreneurial, always gotten well with people, growing network, a very sociable chap I was, and I found myself in a business that was growing pretty quick because there were lots. The industry was stagnant, as in everyone who was operating in that industry had been doing it for years and they all were thinking the same. So it was actually very easy to infiltrate and start to grow a business because they weren't thinking differently. And as I had no internal knowledge or knowledge of the industry, I had no blinkers that would make me say we can't do it that way because the industry doesn't work that way. So the business grew pretty quick, and I scaled that business over 11 years from an initial investment to £24 million in annual revenue and 2 million a year in EBITDA profit. Now, the title of this today is 3K to 3 million in 3 years, the right and the wrong way. And the reason why I named it that was because I actually sold the business and then I bought it back a few years later. And the first 3 million, when I bought the business back because it was failing, the growth came from doing things completely differently. And I wanted to share with you today some of those things that happened, and some of those things that we did to change the way that the business ran. So, journey one, founded the business in 1996, grew the business to 2007, exited venture capitalists, Close Brothers Bank. If anyone watching knows Close Brothers Bank, then that's who I exited to, their venture capitalist division, which then became Albion Ventures. And the growth within the business came from networking really hard and having a solution that no one else was offering within that particular industry. We came in, we were competitive on price, but we weren't the cheapest. But the product range we were offering, tailoring it to what our clients required, and the way we built those relationships was different to what most do. And we ended up being the route to market for some of the biggest brands in the world, like Coca-Cola, Red Bull, Heineken, Pernod Ricard, Bacardi Martini, into this specialist market. So hence the reason why venture capitalists wanted to buy the business. Now, the business was grown. My day consisted of walking into the building, making sure everything was okay operationally with the business, and then speaking to as many people as I could on the telephone to understand what was happening, what were their challenges, how could we fix it as a business, saying yes to it and figuring it out later. And that's how the business grew. But growing a business like that is can be quite damaging to the people in the business, and I'll explain why. Number one is from a founder's point of view, it was damaging because when I sold the business, I had a breakdown, and I'll come on to that in a little while. That was quite a dark place. For the people operating in the business, I grew up with Victorian style parents, very strict Catholic people. Didn't talk about money, didn't talk about anything. Anything personal was between my mum and my dad, and that wasn't shared. That was fine. But I took that ethos into a business, so it was very much, this is my business. People don't need to know about the numbers. They just need to come in and do the work that they need to do. So the team were quite transactional. So they come in, if there were sales order processors, they come in, they process the sales orders, and then they go home. If they were looking at booking freight or dealing with logistics or the warehouse, they come in and do that. And it worked. It worked from a founder's point of view. It worked okay. But it wasn't until the second part of my journey that I realised A, how damaging it was for me, and B, how transactional and uninteresting it would have been for the employees. Although we had good retention of employees, it could have been a lot better, and we could have made it a lot more exciting and get them more vested into the business. So, where was I going with that? The challenge was numbers they knew nothing about, so they didn't know whether we were winning or losing from a sales perspective, from a accounts perspective, from a purchasing perspective. Only the directors of the business, which there was three of us, knew really what was going on in the business. Everyone knew that we were buying lots of products and selling lots of products. Our vehicles were busy, our drivers were busy. And we were working with some of the biggest brands, not so much, well, yes, from a brand FMCG food and beverage perspective, but we were also working with the likes of Virgin Atlantic, Emirates, United Airlines, Royal Caribbean Cruises, Carnival Cruise Lines, so on and so forth. So, super successful. Venture capitalists came in, bought the business. I invested all my money in 2007, lost it all in 2008 because I invested in property the wrong way. Never make that mistake again. The business didn't do too well, and a few years later, they'd been through a number of MDs, and the incumbent MD came to me and said, look, we would like you to come in as a consultant and help us grow the business. So I went back in a couple of days a week, and I was advising the business how to grow. That was a challenge with the board, and the business ended up deteriorating, and we dropped from 24 million to 8 million in a few years. and we dropped from 2 million EBITDA down to negative 500,000 a year profit. So I ended up buying the business back with the FD in quite a bad place. So we're losing 500,000 a year. Cash flow was extremely poor. Oh, looks like my lights ended. Just 1 second. Oh no. So cash flow was poor. We were overstocked of all the wrong items. Team morale was very, very low because they'd just been pushed hard on numbers. The thing was they could have pushed as hard as they wanted on numbers, but they were pushing in the wrong direction. So they were losing customers, they were losing suppliers. Team were getting more and more pressure every time they lost a customer or lost a supplier. There was more pressure applied to the team to fix it, but actually from the top they weren't helping them. So we bought the business back, and what we did is we went back to basics, and we looked at everything we were doing as a business, and we went, right, everything's super complicated. First thing that we need to do is we need to make sure we're doing the basics really, really well. And that's from growing customer relationships, growing supplier relationships, from sales order processing through to pick, pack, and distribution. And I call them metrics that matter, or critical numbers. Looking at the numbers that you need to track on a daily basis, and I'm not just talking about profit and loss or sales revenue. Those are reactive numbers. So profit and loss, balance sheet, revenue, sales reports, that's all reactive. Something has happened in the past to deliver that number today, or full that month, whatever time period you report on. What we needed to start doing was going back to what I was doing on my own, but as a team, which was every day I would get into the office and make as many calls as I could. And I didn't know I was doing it, but I had my pad list of everyone to call, and I was getting through those numbers. And I didn't know the metrics back then because I didn't even know to look at them. I just knew that if I phoned as many people, emailed as many people as I could with either office or service or looking to build relationships with suppliers, that would strengthen the business. So we started looking at what were the critical numbers in the business that we needed to track on a daily basis of activity that we were doing as a team that would grow the business. So my number one point for you is if you've got a business, even if it's just yourself at the moment, create some numbers and some goals that you want to achieve on a daily and weekly basis. Create a very simple spreadsheet. Right, today or for the week, we want to do 20 calls a day, 100 calls a week, and get those checked off. And then over a period of a month or 2 months, then start looking at how many of those sales calls progressed into meetings or providing quotations for those clients, and how many converted. And then you can start to build up very slowly the metrics. So you'll have your conversion rate from a cold call into a meeting, into a negotiation, into a one business case. You'll understand those conversion rates, and then you'll know where you're dropping off the most clients or potential clients and where you are winning. You can look at what to strengthen, and then you would know that if you brought in someone else to do that, or if you brought in another salesperson, you know the numbers of how many numbers they need to call to convert. And you can also then start looking at the scripts that you're using to make those meetings and sales. So the first one is find your metrics that matter. I'm not talking about thousands of numbers. I'm talking about maybe some marketing numbers and some sales numbers, i.e. how many emails should you send a day? How many sales phone calls should you make? How many quotations should you send out in a week? How many social media posts should you do? Anything that is proactive around your sales. So that is one of the first things that we did. Um, one of the first things. The first thing that I did is I looked at my journey the first time round and how it ended. And I didn't want that to happen. So what I did is I looked at what are my strengths. I knew my strengths was building relationships and it was outward facing sales, commercial negotiation. I was really good at those things. Where I'd had no experience and no coaching was on the internal operational side of the business, creating. And when I say systems, I'm not talking about a computer system or an IT system. I'm talking about the way the business operated, and how we managed and monitored and improved that element of the business. So I brought in a FTSE 250 managing director as my mentor and coach. And over the period of a year, year and a half, we worked on my weaknesses. And you can see probably behind me there's quite a few books. He ignited a fire in me, in which books to start reading. And then that made me look at other areas of the business where I needed to improve my skill sets. Even now, I'm doing a digital marketing degree. But what we did was we created internally a robust system that would help scale any business. Um, and I am going to see if I can share this one slide. I'm just going to end this here. Let me bring that up. I think that's why. That's great. I think that's what's happened is I've pulled the cable out. There we go. Bear with. I might be able to do this now. Still not letting me, I don't think. There we go. Let me put it in full screen mode. Just 2 minutes. These things always happen using lots of screens. I'm just going to quit and restart Keynote, see if that helps. There we go. So, there we go. Let's fast forward now. So this is the framework that we created. In fact, let me just move myself out of the way if I can. So the light blue are the first steps, the foundations of what you need to implement in a business. And forget the top half, the orange, the yellow and the green. The blue things are the steps that you need to take and to implement and to keep simple that will transform how any business grows. Most businesses are started by someone who's got a technical experience in something, a mechanic, an engineer, a printer, whatever their skill set is. They start the business, they've got a network around them, and they get to a point where they've exhausted that network and they're not sure how to grow. They either not sure how to grow, so don't do anything, or keep doing the same thing. And as Marshall Goldsmith wrote, what got you here won't get you there. Or they know what to do, but they don't know how to do it. Again, so the business plateaus and the business struggles or sits at a certain level for a long period of time. It's frustrating. I've been there myself, and it does impact yourself and the team. So, starting from left to right: vision, mission, purpose, why, and your values. I used to think purpose, why, and values were fluffy things. When we implemented this in our business, it made it so simple to manage a team and build an A team within the business, because they were the ones who wrote these documents. So If you haven't got them, your purpose, your why, and your values. The other one that we have, which sat under values, which is core values, core behaviours. And then implementing goals, your strategy, your tactics, and how you are going to execute them. And just focusing on those light blue blocks there took our business from 8 million and losing money to 31 million and making money in 5 years. And then another exit to ultra high net worth family office. Obviously, you need to track your metrics, track your actions, and systemize your process. Again, not talking about an IT or a software program as in process. It's how you formulate this and the workflow you use and the rhythm in the business of meetings and strategy and tactics reviews, the workshops that you hold with your team. Those are critical. It's only once you've got those in place, they're simple, they're running, and everyone in the business understands them. From, we had everyone, all but the cleaner, because the cleaner was external to the business, they were outsourced, but everyone in our warehouse, from a picker all the way up to myself, was involved in those workshops, creating those documents, looking at those numbers, and everyone was crystal clear what we were trying to achieve, when we were trying to achieve it. On a daily basis, we knew whether we were winning or losing. And everyone says, well, monitoring numbers is too much on a daily basis. Is it really? If you've got a tiny business, maybe. But if you want to grow a business, if something happened today and you didn't look at it for a month, you wouldn't know about it. And that's too long to leave something, whether it's a challenge or whether it's something good. Something really bad happened and you didn't find out for a month. You're a month down the line trying to fix it. So it's not fresh in everyone's mind what's happened. If something good happened, the same thing, not fresh in the mind. So you need to look at things and change things in a small way, monitor what impact it has, and then you need to dial it up if it's making a positive impact on the business. So tracking actions, I track actions daily in businesses. I track the numbers daily. So we can see what's happening and we can make on the minute, on the spot decisions on whether we dial an action that we're doing, a process, a strategy, a tactic, whether we dial it up or dial it back. So implementing this was critical for anyone who wants to go from, sub £250,000 into the millions of pounds over the next year, couple of years. Getting those blue blocks in place and having a plan. So annual goal, quarterly goals, monthly goals, weekly goals, and daily goals, which are in line, that your execution, your strategy, your tactics, and your execution are in line with your goals. And if you have that in place, and I know a lot of people go, well, I haven't got time to write it down, but there's nothing worse than not planning for your business. I'm running a workshop in December. If you drop me a DM saying planning workshop, I'll let you know the details, which will help you get these things in place, ready for next year, so you can hit the ground running, you can have clarity, you can have confidence, and you will have a roadmap that you can follow with the strategies and with the tactics you need to grow the business over the next 12 months. And we'll be doing this in a group format. Unless you're over £1.5 million, £2 million, I would recommend doing it in a group format where you can learn from other people in the cohort. If you are north of 2 million, then I do one-to-one workshops with the owners, senior leaders, and the team that you support. So if you need some help putting these in place, let me know. If you want to know more information about the event that I'm running in December, drop me a DM and I'll send you the information. But having the clarity, having your strategy, your tactics, and your execution plan in line with your goals, which support your vision, your why, your purpose, your mission, and your values, is critical. And for your team, you know, a lot of smaller businesses, they don't tell the team what the goal is or what the big vision is, so they're all trying to do something and they're fighting in the dark. So putting the rules of the game in play, and obviously I'm a golfer, so playing to the rules is something that you have to do, an etiquette. That's what we did, is we gamified the business, and it really did help the team. And rather than growing it from £3,000 to £24 million, we grew it from 8 million and losing money to 31 million in 5 years. And here's the crunch. Not only did we grow the business further, we grew the business quicker, and I was doing 20% of the work. 80% of the work the team took ownership of by implementing this structure. So again, if you are working endless hours, I'm not going to sit here and say that you'll work 30 hours a month. You won't. You'll change what you're working on. You'll be working more on strategy and the future of the business rather than the transactional elements of the business today. So if you would rather have that clarity and have your team take ownership of your business and run the business for you while you focus on how you can develop the business, grow the business, fine tune the business, and it might not be grow it. It might be, how do you improve the numbers within the business? How do you improve profitability? How do you make it more efficient? How do you make those customers raving fans? You need to start with these building blocks first. Now, I've helped some businesses, so I'm an advisor, business growth advisor. I've helped a wine company grow exponentially. I've taken a business owner who owns a electric outboard motors business where they were having sleepless nights and were confused, to rocking it with their team. I've helped a mature business which was turning over £500,000 a month, which dropped down to 800,000 a month, but they were doing 500,000 a month for 23 years, and then the business dropped substantially. They tried to fix it, couldn't. Within 12 weeks, we had them back up to 750,000 a month, and now they're doing 1.5 million a week, just by focusing on the basics. And the owners, the senior leaders of the business, aren't working any harder. The team aren't working any harder. What they're doing is eliminating the stuff they shouldn't be doing. They're improving the stuff where they need to. They're starting to do the things that really matter, the metrics that matter, and that is critical for business. And that is what can help you take a business from 3k to £3 million in 3 years or even less. So I'm just going to open up the floor, see if there's any comments anywhere. Sorry, one sec. Are there any comments? If anyone's got any comments, it's just loading on my phone actually. If anyone's got any comments or questions, please ask on the comments. I think there's a few people still live, so I'll give it a few seconds. Like I say, if you want to find out more about how I help companies from an advisory capacity one-on-one, drop me a DM saying advisory. That's as a fractional capacity, so it costs you a lot less than hiring someone full-time. And I work in groups through cohorts, quarterly cohorts. If you're interested in that, if you're interested in getting the right plan in place, the right strategy, roadmap, tactics to grow your business in 2026, like I say, I'm running a free workshop which will turn into a paid workshop in December. Drop me a DM with the word 2026 planning, and I'll send you the information. Thanks for watching. If there aren't any questions, then I will be logging off. I'm just going to check one more platform because I think, or this should be going through to YouTube as well. Just check that because it doesn't come through on my automation. YouTube Studio. Here we go. So there's nothing on LinkedIn. No. Oh, let's click on here. Any questions on here? Oh, let's click on it. Nope. And anything on Facebook? Nothing come through on LinkedIn. 2 secs. Any questions on... Nothing come through on... Okay, no, there's nothing there. So thank you very much indeed. So thank you for watching. I hope you found that interesting. If you need any help or support, DM me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook and YouTube and TikTok actually. So thank you.